Hi, I'm Rick Paris. Welcome to Conscious Reality Creator. This week I'm going to talk about more definition to your reality creating. And in that definition, you have to understand that there's very specific qualities, energies, choices that are made when you're about to generate an experience. When I want to consciously generate something. Now these energies that generate an experience do not sustain an experience. So you have to know the difference. Like if you're having problems, some people generate things left and right. They don't sustain relationships. They don't sustain friendships. They don't sustain a business. They don't sustain their money. They can generate and then they don't sustain, right? So there has to be an understanding between what is a generation and what is sustainability. Because generating is the beginning, we're going to talk about generating first. The generating energies are these: happiness, intimacy, joy, gratitude, love, trust, and value. These are how one generates an experience. Because when I am happy, happiness will generate an experience, but it won't sustain an experience because happiness is a function of my needs being met. If I'm only going for need all the time, I am now an addictive behavior in a sustainability function. In generating, happiness is happy. We all want to be happy. And happiness generates an experience. But it won't keep it going because it is now an addiction if you use happiness to sustain happiness. I have to have my thing every day at the time that I want it in order to be happy. So I have to be in a pattern. But anyway, happiness is a generating energy. Intimacy. Intimacy is something that always builds on itself. So intimacy actually not only generates, it also sustains. Because when you're going for intimacy, it causes you to get deeper. It causes you to be more connected. And in that more connection, you want more connection. So not only will it generate an experience, it will also sustain an experience because intimacy constantly wants more intimacy. That's why in relationships, you can get closer and then a lot of times you'll have a blowout after you've been closer for a while because you start getting nervous because you have to go deeper and get even closer, and that gets scary. So what a lot of people do, they'll break the relationship, go back and start over. Let's have a big fight and then great make-up sex and we'll start all over and we'll be all in love for another couple months and then we'll have a blowout instead of just constantly going for more intimacy. So intimacy can generate and it can sustain. Love can also generate something and sustain you because love is everything in physical reality is a function of love. Everything that I'm teaching you are really methods and systems and things to notice so I can actually keep self-loving, to constantly going into deeper self-love. Because once you're loving yourself enough, you're able to receive what you need and you're able to create magically. It's like there's a whole thing that happens once you get into a new machine, once you're generating from a conscious position. And that's why these generating energies are very important. Gratitude not only generates, it actually can sustain. But it really is a generator because the minute you're having gratitude, you open yourself to being more grateful. And so it can sustain. It's really primarily a generator, but it can sustain because as I'm feeling gratitude, I find more gratitude, more things to feel gratitude about, and therefore it is sustaining me. It's just how long can you do it? How long can you stay there? We have a video on gratitude. So gratitude is a whole thing, so you want to look at that video, but joy is the healer. Joy is a fulfillment of preference. So joy, the minute you're enjoying something, it generates an emotionality, it generates a depth. It also generates the environment for transcendence. Joy is a transcendent state. I mean, it's even like, when you take ecstasy, you're so freaking happy on ecstasy, right? Because you're enjoying yourself. What ecstasy is doing is getting you in touch with your sense of joy. Joy cannot sustain you. Because if you were on joy and I was enjoying, you'd burn your whole system out. Because you can't keep that going. It's too intense. It's too much power to be running all the time. So joy is something that generates, but You can't sustain it from there. It's like people that are super, super happy all the time. They end up going to a place and they have a big crash. A lot of times they call people like that bipolar, because I can really feel, and all of a sudden I can't sustain that. So I dump, and then I feel so bad after that. I actually think something's wrong with me. But it's just that you don't know that you're actually trying to run on joy for too much time. Self-trust is the fulcrum of all empowerment. Without self-trust, you won't trust anybody else. You won't trust the reality that you're creating. Since reality is a function of an end result, it's an internal place that I'm bringing through an illusion. So it's like you can't create success if you don't feel successful. The steps to getting there are the qualities of being there. So I need to understand when I am trusting, when I can imagine, and when I can desire, and when I can use my imagination and my expectation. Now I'm using the creation tools. I have to trust that I'm doing it well. Because if you can't trust, you'll do the creation tool for a while and you'll drop it. And you won't even realize. You go like, oh, it's not working. It's not happening. No, you dropped it. Because I didn't trust myself. So to the depth that you trust yourself is how long you'll be able to hold what you're generating. So trust will generate, but it needs to keep going. I need to be able to trust myself that when I make a decision, I can create that experience for myself. Value. Value is a generating energy, because value, out of all the physical reality, everything in physical reality is a function of your unconscious mind. So out of all this stuff, the light switch cover, the light bulb, the cracks, and all that is part of, if I don't value any of it, how is any of it going to change me? How is any of it going to change my direction? How is anything, if I don't know how to add value to something, I won't generate the reality because there's no significance. So therefore, all of reality is kind of an even playing field. It's like, I love everybody. I love everybody. That means you're like dishing out a penny to everyone. I love everyone. So what's the difference between somebody get $1's worth of love and a penny's worth of love? It's the value that you place on, the significance that you give to that. That's what that will generate. The experience will now take more focus because I'm valuing this thing. So if you want something, you have to give it value. You have to give it substance. Substance is matter, and matter is significance, emotional significance. So value is a generating energy. So when you're trying to consciously create a reality, I use my creation tools, my desire, my expectation, my imagination, and I use it in this manner. I use these generating energies in order to define these tools. So it's kind of like sharpening your tools. This is how you sharpen these. Nobody in physical reality has more tools than anybody else. If you're a fucking gazillionaire, you just have sharper tools. So now let's go into sustain, because that'll generate. But as you can see, all those energies won't sustain something. So sustaining energies are responsibility, ownership, discipline, love, intimacy, and gratitude. Love, intimacy, and gratitude can generate and sustain. In a lot of the spiritual community, in the language that you're hearing a great deal about the generating energies, right? You hear it all the time. And so the adolescent cannot sustain anything. Only the adult can sustain something. Because as you know, the adolescent, you don't hear people talking about responsibility, commitment, and discipline. So yeah, you see these generating energies, right? And you see people talking about their gratitude and their happiness and their intimacy and their joy, and I trust and I love and I just love everything and everything's so great. And then next week you're like, oh my God, it's terrible. It looked like it was going to go somewhere and it was beautiful. You know, and they're all depressed on Facebook now. And then 2 days later, they're like, oh my God, I found the best spiritual teacher ever. Totally opened me up. You've got to check them out. It's the best information ever. And 2 days later, like, yeah, it didn't really work for me. I mean, it's great information and I learned a lot, but I couldn't keep it up because there's no sustainability. It's generate. I want to generate a reality, but I don't know how to sustain it because sustainability is a much more complex situation to be in. So the adolescent doesn't know how to sustain anything. They know how to generate. Woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. On to one thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing, down again. Oh, I'm up, I'm down again. Oh, I'm up, I'm down again. Because there's no sustainability. Responsibility. Now, if I have a definition that responsibility is a weight and it's a burden and it's an obligation and it's a duty, I lose all the power of responsibility, right? Because I've labeled responsibility as something that I really don't like, I really don't want to do. It's heavy. The belief around responsibility is the problem. Responsibility, in simple terms, is the ability to respond. The adolescent thinks responsibility is yes, I'll do it, yes, I'll do it, yes, I'll do it until I can't do anything else. No, responsibility is just as perfect to say no. That's not in line with my values and I'm not going to do that. That's perfectly and powerfully responsible. To the adolescent, it's like, well, you can't say no. It's your duty, it's your obligation to say yes. Fulfill your duties and obligations and don't take any more of those on is my best advice in that. But responsibility, you need to understand, I must have the definition that responsibility is my ability to respond. That way I can sustain my set of values because I'm saying no when it's not appropriate. I don't care. I can have a deal that's like, I can make so much money, it'll only take 3 weeks. I mean, I don't like this person, but I'll make a lot of money. And so I say yes. But I'm out of my values. You will have a hard time for 3 months. You won't like it, and it won't be as good at the end because it was all the wrong reasons that you went for it, right? So I didn't respond appropriately. I filled my space with something that wasn't good for me. So responsibility needs to be understood. Same with discipline. The adolescent hears the words discipline. It was like, oh, you're in trouble. You're going to get disciplined. No, that's not really discipline. Discipline is having the ability to focus consistently on what I want, to be disciplined about what I want. Like if you want to lose weight and you know I need to go to the gym 4 days a week, and you go to the gym 4 days a week, you're going to lose weight. You're going to sustain that experience. Now, if I'm not disciplined and I go and I do it once or I go twice next week and I miss next week and I'm not disciplined, I won't get my result. Not because you got to lose weight that way, but your belief system is set up that that's the way that I'm going to do that. So you have to be able to understand discipline just means that I'm committed. I'm going after. Commitment is another sustaining energy. It's not the same as discipline. Discipline is the action that I take out of commitment. When I say, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to make more money, then I have to now be disciplined about what it is that I choose, and that will sustain you. Because that discipline, when it's coming from a value, is just re-choosing that which fulfills me. It's easy. Now, if discipline is coming from a value that's not mine, discipline will wear you down and you'll get tired and you'll be like, oh, I can't do it anymore. I've done it for 6 months. You're not coming from a value. You're not receiving. You're not being fed. So that tells you that you're not utilizing discipline and probably commitment the right way. If you're committed to what your ego wants, I just want to look good so I can get laid more, hey, great for you. But if you're doing that and you're coming out of that after time, you're not going to feel good unless getting laid and looking good is a value of mine, which is perfectly legit. Nothing wrong with that. But if I'm not disciplined and I'm not committed to that, I'm not going to get the result. And if I don't look good, I'm probably not going to get laid because I have a belief that you get laid when you look good. So you need to work this system. You need to understand discipline, ownership. Ownership is how you sustain something, right? If you want to date somebody, I did this with my wife. The first day I met Grace, I said, I love you. I know it already. I can feel it. I know what's going on here. My values are being met. I just want to say I love you. And I know that's a weird thing to say so soon because I'm owning it. I'm owning what's going on right now. The second time we went on a date, I knew then I'm going to marry her. And I told her, this is going to sound weird. You don't hear this every day because I'm a reality creator, right? I need to do this work. So I said, I'm owning it more. I love you. I want to marry you. So right now, I want you to know, last night I went online, I took because I had, profiles up to get laid because it was fun and I liked it. I wasn't serious. So I went after not being serious. But when I realized I was serious, I took all my profiles down before I even told her. I called the girls I was dating. I said, I'm into somebody. please don't text me or call me in the middle of the night because I'm trying to set up a trustworthy environment with this person and I don't want to, I told her I'm committed. So you have to own it and you have to respond to it and it has to be powerful and it has to be based in your values. You will create the reality you want. I mean, people would be like, wow, I mean, you told 22 years younger than me, someone that you love them and you're going to marry them and you end up doing it. Yeah. And so I trust myself when I commit. I understand what I'm doing. And out of that came a beautiful relationship. You know, of course, I had to change a lot of beliefs. I never had any beliefs like, wow, what's somebody going to think when their parents are 6 years older than me? Like, I had to take out a lot of beliefs. I had to do all the work that I'm teaching you guys how to do now. So now you know what it is to generate something and what it is to sustain something. If you have to write these down on Post-its in front of you all day to look at them because at first you might need to. And now you have the ability to not only generate when you want to, but you have the capacity to sustain something now. And that's very exciting.